What's going on, my friends? I would say good morning, but depending on when you watch this video, it's good morning or good day or good evening. That all depends on you, but all is well. I want to get on and rap about a couple of things, just a little bit here. I'm kind of getting on more than I have in a while. But I guess my main focus here is I want to get on and talk about things that kind of work for me. I don't claim to whatever be the be-all, end-all. I'm not one of these guys that I'm going to be teaching a course or anything like that. That's just not my thing. I don't have time for that. But I enjoy getting on talking a little bit about the music business, at least the music licensing part of it, because there are so many opportunities. That's my guitar pick clicking, sorry. So many opportunities in the music business that you could make money at. I mean, music licensing and film and TV music is not for everybody, you know. You may want to be a performer, which I was for many years. Touring and playing out a lot and stuff like that and carrying all that gear and moving around from place to place kind of gets exhausting sometimes if you've been doing it for 35 or 36 years or more. But you find your own niche in music and what works best for you. You know, it may be just producing people. It may be writing what they call beats, you know, for artists, or writing music for artists in general, you know. You may be a singer-songwriter. That's still film and TV music, but there's a lot of opportunities in that. Writing for other artists and various things. But I just want to get on that. Sometimes I like to talk about a few things. I think it's very, cool to do, and I enjoy it. It's almost like a journal for me to get off my chest. But sometimes I see things and I like to talk about that. And I'm going to talk about a couple of things here in just a minute on that deal. But other than that, I've been very busy musically. I'm looking to end my year around 275 tracks this year, which is very good. Excuse me, I had something on my camera. Next year, my goal is to exceed 300 tracks, and I want to do that. And I think, as they say, God willing, if the creek don't rise here in the South. That's kind of a Southern term that we have. As many we do have, many sayings that we have. I feel that I'll be able to do that. I've got, one thing I do is I set goals every year. Type them out. Set those goals. Go back and review them a couple of times in a year. Look at your year. Tighten it up. Sometimes you're going to have to, I promise you, you're going to have to change or go, okay, I'm changing course because I want to do this. It's okay to do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You should do that. I have my coffee here. It always helps. You should always do that. I tell you, and there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of times, don't feel bad. You're not gonna achieve every goal. You know, I've exceeded mine sometimes, but this year there's a couple things I didn't achieve, and that's okay. You know, I had a couple of obstacles this year that kind of stood in my way. You know. A couple of obstacles like my neck surgery and some other projects going on, which wasn't really an obstacle. And me traveling a little bit and working while I was on the road was not an obstacle, but it was something that, with one goal I wanted to do, I couldn't do it because of that time period. Because, there's sometimes you can't do guitar work in some places, even though I took my guitars with me. But a lot of times, just with other projects, as busy as I got, it just didn't happen. That's probably the biggest part of it, because I was down for a while after that neck surgery. I'm surprised that I got the music I got done. As soon as I got home from that, I was recovering. I was sitting there, I was composing music, which is, most people wouldn't even be thinking to do that. So, but that's just me. I hate being down. Hate it. It's the worst. And just really, I have a knack to just keep on going. That's what I want to do. I don't like to be down. But anyway, I want to get on and talk real quick about some things I see in some of these groups and forums and stuff. And I see so many people, it just drives me crazy. And I don't comment on it because it's not my place to. I'm not the be-all, end-all. I don't know them. Maybe they are well aware of how busy these guys are and the situation. Maybe they're not. But they get this chip on their shoulder, and I think that from the title of this, don't get hung up on music supervisors, guys. Just don't do that. I mean, some of you may have connection with some of them, and if you do, and they're taking your music, get it. Go for it. I commend you, like more than you could possibly imagine. I commend you for that. That is great. Because I'm going to tell you, excuse me, it's like every morning I get this one little episode like I'm about to sneeze or something. Sorry. Because music supervisors are the hardest nut to crack. You know, a lot of these behind the scenes people. But people get so hung up on them. And I'm telling you right now, don't get hung up in all this worried about music supervisors. I'm telling you right now. I've met a lot of these supervisors. I've seen them talk in panels at these conferences. They deal with trusted sources mostly. And don't take it personally that you're not a trusted source. They just don't know you. They don't. And if you have any idea how many emails they get and how busy they are, it'd blow your mind. But really, they get a lot of emails for music. But if you had any idea how awful those emails were, and some of these guys sending them stuff, and just the emails were, ridiculous. There was a guy made a comment, I think it was yesterday. I read it. I don't know when he posted it. Well, I was talking to some music supervisor called because I sent some music or something. I can't remember what it was. Asking him, well, why do you have to be a jerk and treat these composers, and being a jerk to the guy, the music supervisor, and, you need us, Like, well, it's true that they need us just as much as we need them. But you don't call and be a jerk and an ass to these people, because I'll break it down about as easy as I can be on this one, guys. You're burning bridges when you do that and you treat these people in the industry like this. You really shouldn't do any library or anybody like that, I mean, it's one thing if a library was doing something extremely unethical and you called him out on it and it was proven and you weren't the only one. But still, even then, you're burning bridges. The old saying is, be careful of the bridge that you burn today, because it may be the bridge that you need to cross tomorrow. You need to realize that even these supervisors change companies and change roles of jobs. Some of them are composers. A lot of them are not composers. But they're very good at selecting music. And you guys may not realize how much they go through. Sometimes they're working on 3 or 4 projects at a time. I've heard these guys, listen, I've seen these guys literally in action trying to select music. And they do this at these conferences. They're really cool to watch. They did it again this year. They do the Music Supervisors Challenge. And basically it's to get an idea of how quick they can select music in a time frame they need. And so what they did was there would be 3 or 4 supervisors. And some of these supervisors, Joel C. High, big supervisor in the industry. The Norths, Abby North and her family, they're big supervisors in this industry. They've done some of the biggest projects, film projects in the industry. Go look them up. Joel C. High, H-I-G-H. Look at his repertoire. He hosted a panel. Actually, it was somebody else hosted the panel, but he was one of the 3 or 4 music supervisors. And basically, each one would have a project. And actually, they were legitimate projects they were looking on. Here's the music I'm looking for. And they went through the criteria and the brief for like a supervisor to another supervisor, because they'll call on each other. I don't think you realize that a lot of these supervisors have a network where, hey, listen, what you got over there? What do you have? Production companies will call these supervisors. So what they did is they did projects, and it really should be mock projects, but he'd mentioned that this is actually what I'm looking for in a project I'm working on. He didn't go into what. He's doing a lot of the Medea movies. I think he's working on a new one. I guess I'm looking for like a hip-hop, a certain hip-hop of certain demographic, maybe Atlanta or something, because that's where it all takes place. He was going through all this stuff. They had about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to search their most searched areas of music. And they don't have a lot of time, guys, to listen to music. I'm going to kind of break it down for you. They don't have time to listen to your song from beginning to end and embellish on it and kind of sit there and think about it. They don't do that. They'll click the verse 10 seconds. They'll see if it's getting to the point. They'll keep going to see if there's a good chorus. They will see if you got a really good ending. They'll see if it's going somewhere. And most of all, they'll see, does this track fit the criteria of the project I'm looking for? But the problem is you got a lot of these composers that sit there and think, well, my music is what you need in your projects. How come you didn't select my music? Well, first of all, don't take it personally because it's about what fits that project. It's not that it's bad. But these music supervisors get these emails. They're just jerks. So like, this is my music. You need to be using it, for that some link. And you know what the biggest problem they have? The reason why there's a liability there? A lot of these guys will get their emails. They'll send them stuff that they didn't even write. Literally, you get a lot of these guys that pulled stuff from Splice and started putting it together and say, here's my new music, and it's not. Guys, they have fingerprint technology. They have Shazam. They have a lot of other things that I don't know at their fingertips. They know how to vet that music. They know how to vet it. A lot of times they've heard it before. And you know where you're going if you do that to them? You're going to the dark side, baby. You're going in their trash folder, and they'll never see your email again. You'll get ghosted. And you burn another bridge. Telling you, man, don't do that. Don't be a jerk to these people. Listen, they get bukus of emails. And the odds of them reading your emails slim to none. This is why I'm saying you gotta concentrate on your home with good libraries. Here's the best advice based on what I've learned. And believe you me, it's hard. I'm going to have to send some emails, see if they get my email. There's some supervisors that I met at the conference that I can probably get a response from because I made that connection in a professional way. With time and a lot of things, I didn't get a chance to ask those questions. But if you get connection and some communication, a good conversation, some sort of connection with the music supervisor, here's what you do. You ask them this. You say, listen, I understand that you deal with trusted sources only. And as much as I would love to get music to you, and hopefully one day I can you tell me where the sources that you pull your music from? Can you tell me some libraries, some places? Because as much as I'd love to send you music, I want to make sure that my music is in those libraries. Guys, that is easier. They appreciate that more than anything because they know you're serious, but they know you understand. It's showing them a respect that you understand that. And these music supervisors are human beings like you and I. Actually, some of these guys are really good people. I've had some good conversations with them. I was having conversations with some of these guys. I didn't even know what their role was. They were composers or libraries. They were music supervisors, just talking about things. They're human like you and I. They really are. And they kind of walk away and realize, gosh, there's some questions I should have asked. And I didn't do it. But that's okay. There's plenty of time for that. But ask them where this is. So a lot of them would be more than glad to tell you. Because chances are, if you're where they're looking for music, you got a good odd of getting your music selected for a project. Getting that music, finding that library, that good home, and working hard for these libraries. Quit emailing these guys and being a jerk and hoping they're going to take your music immediately. Do what you want to do. And some of you may have some supervisors you send music to and they've used it. And again, man, get on it if you have. I am props to you. I have mad respect for you if you're doing that because I'm telling you, these are hard nuts to crack in this industry. They're very hard to do. And I'm just telling you guys, if y'all understand what these supervisors go through, what they have to do, they don't have much time to listen to music. That's a big part of their job, but they're not going from very beginning to end and embellishing on just your track. They may have a set of 50, 75, 80 tracks they've got to listen to in a day. And, they're moving quick. And the thing is they are somewhat selected at the beginning of the production of that project, but chaos starts when it goes into post-production. And I can tell you, this is how I've heard music supervisors explain this. Sometimes they're working on 3, 4, 5 projects at a time. Probably an average about 3 to 4 projects. That's a lot of work. Because not only do you have to select the music and communicate with about 5 or 10 different people, when it gets into post-production, throughout that, they've got the production team coming at them. What do you got? This is the music we want. And they change their mind throughout the course of that project over and over and over again. Like they've got a pile of music, and then they've got to go back and search again, and they've got to search again. And they've got all this music. When it gets into post-production, it's about the time they have to have all that deal sealed. And some of you have met, and it may have worked differently for you, but my understanding is that, you don't get paid for that song until it's final, the project is done, and they've finally decided on it. Because they could say, hey, we're going to use your track for this, and they change their mind again, and they can't use it, and they use another track. It happens all the time. The production team just changes their mind. But it's total chaos. And they don't have a lot of time to listen to music. And the music is, they're searching and searching and trying to present it. But they've got the paperwork to do, the legal paperwork, in 2 or 3 different directions. They've got all the clearance. They got to get you to sign paperwork saying that you're clearing it, saying it is your music. And you better make sure that it's your music if you do that, because there's a huge liability there. It can be career killers for you and them. And that's why they're very protective of where they pull their music from. Trusted sources, my friends. Trusted. And they're busy. And they don't have a ton of time in a day like you think they would to sit there and just listen to your music. Don't be a jerk to these people, man. Don't. You need to think about when you communicate with these guys. Listen, if you know that if you know they're one of these guys that wouldn't pee on you if you were on fire, move on. Who cares? I've met so many people, in this industry, in these conferences, you can tell the ones that won't piss on you if you're on fire. This year, I was sitting there talking to a few composer guys I see every year. This was about my 5th or 6th conference. I think it was my 5th, 2016, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, 5th. And we were laughing, going, I can tell which ones wouldn't piss on me if I was on fire and ones I know that are cool. But, I've told you again, I tell you a million times, going to some of these conferences like the Production Music Conference, which is the biggest one, if you want FaceTime with these supervisors or meeting people in this industry, good libraries, they have round tables. They're talking. They're standing around. You can look at their badge. It'll tell you who they're with. Just be human. Talk to them. Don't try to impress these people and be something you're not. I've talked about that in another video. Go watch that video. Don't BS these people. Don't be a jerk. Don't go, how come you just don't read my emails? Or how come you don't, give these composers the time of day? They have to give themselves the time of day before they can. And their number one goal is to find that project and everything that comes with that. And the production teams and people in the industry are breathing down their necks because they're paying them big money to do that. And, you have to have a knack for selecting music. But these music supervisors can tell you, they've done it enough. They know the exact criteria they look for in a track when they're bumping through it. And they'll click through it to listen to it within 10 to 15 seconds of your track. They're not going to listen to it from beginning to end and embellish on it. They don't have time to do that. When they sat there in that music supervisors challenge, they were sitting there and they were talking about something else, and you could see in the video, and they were clicking and they had headphones on and they were da 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 da. I think it was like 5 minutes or something like that, 10 minutes. It's amazing what they compiled in their search engines. They have software for these projects that I forgot what it's called. Some of you guys may know, and if you know it, drop a comment in there what that software is. But it's almost like a digital audio workstation for music supervisors and people in the industry. But it's a project software that most companies use, where you've got all your files and your music and your correspondence. You drop in people's files, and it's organized where you work together within it, almost like an intranet, like companies do. It's not out on the internet, but it's internal in the server of a company. But they work with each other on a cloud together, and they connect like Zoom or something, Zoom meeting. But they meta tag every piece of music they get. They make sure it's meta tagged so they can find it. Because that's another thing they talk about, is very serious about getting all the information in your track that you can. Your libraries tell you don't do it because they do it. They make sure it's there. But if you have it sitting there, it's not in the library and it's going to another source. If a music supervisor, somebody says, send me these tracks, you better get into the back information of that WAV file and start putting your name, information, genre, any tags that not over tagging it, but that are in the genre or where they'll search and find that. Because in that software they have, or wherever, a lot of these supervisors have their own hard drive or their own search system. Some of them develop their own. When they do a search for music in their own database, you're not going to come up if you don't have that information in that track. In other words, they don't know that track and they Shazam, it doesn't come up. If they hit the back end for the information, it's a way for them to find out your information, to contact you and say, listen, your track was in my system. You sent it to me sometime about a year ago. They may tag it and date it. I want to use it for a project. If nothing's in there and they can't find it, you're gone. I can tell you right now, it's gone. So I'm telling you guys that they have a lot of music. So, and then moving back in that 10 or 15 minutes time, not even that long, I think I'm sitting there watching it. They came up, and one of the supervisors, she does children's shows for a lot of the networks. She goes, I do children's shows, but I have a knack. I've done in my career a lot of other things. And just doing her job, she had 12 tracks, probably a track a minute. And she says, and she'll tell you exactly why she picked these tracks. Oh, and you'd have to watch this to know. It'd blow your mind, guys. It would give you a whole new spin and perspective on music supervisors to understand what they do, what they go through. This is their day, guys. They don't have all day to listen to that. They have other things they've got to do. They get called, and it's bad enough that these guys call them, but they may call them to sit down in a meeting in a room and say, listen, we need to meet, you need to come here, or we need to do this, or I need you to call them because they may have some music, or we need to call legal and get all the paperwork done, everything clear legally on that. There's a lot of stuff that even I don't know they've got to do. You would think that their only job is just to go search for music all day and do nothing else. These music supervisors, they have a job description that's deep. They stay busy. It's the reason why I want to just be the composer. As I've said, if you think you want to be your own library and do that and have to schmooze and sell, you're taking a lot of time out of your composing time to do it. Very few people I know can do both. I think Dan Brown Jr. is one guy I know that can compose and then handle music, but he does a Sub Pub. In fact, Dan just signed his whole library from BMG over to Warner Chappell. Dan is an insane talent. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he has enough hours in a day. He's amazing. But he's one of the very few I know that can somewhat do it. And even he told me it's hard. I see Dan every year at the music conferences. This year he didn't come. Probably it's because he's busy doing a lot of this changeover and some other things going on. But anyway, just know the one way you can go to supervisors if you're your own library, but that's another thing. You're still not a trusted source. It takes a lot of references and a lot of proving to know you're a legitimate library. But you better know that you're a liability too. If you take in other composers, you're a bigger library, but you may do something you didn't realize that caused a conflict that, a lot of these libraries have what they call errors and omissions insurance, and they have to retain an attorney. It costs money. And you need to do it. Every publisher I have has an attorney retained. Because somebody's going to email and have a question about a track, and if they start pushing it and you didn't infringe a copyright, you just tell them, refer, here's my attorney, and they'll research it for me. And sometimes they'll back off, or sometimes it's legitimate. And your insurance company has to cover it, or you have to pay it, or you have to cut them in on, whatever the situation is. They're all different. But I'm just saying, guys, you got to pick your poison in this business. But don't burn bridges. And, I think the main theme is just don't get hung up on music supervisors, guys. You're taking the hardest route to go and things you may not realize what you're digging into, and your stuff's probably not being listened to. And if you have some technology, you can tell if the email's been open, you'll know if it's been open, but you don't know if they listen to your music. 85-90% of the time, they're not opening your emails. And some of you probably get a response saying, listen, thank you, I have to pass on this. Or some of them may respond saying, listen, I'll keep this in mind in the future. They may download your music and put it in their database. And if they do that, that's gold. That's the best thing that you can have accomplished. That is the best accomplishment you can have. Even with these TV networks and stuff, if they download your music into their system, eventually it's going to come around that you may get it picked for something. You better have your information in there. Now, I will caution you this. If you write for a bunch of libraries like I do, and you pitch music to these networks, you better look at your contract and your agreement with your libraries, because if those networks and these people are client to your libraries and you're voiding your contract, you could get in some legal trouble with your libraries when they tell you cannot call on our clients and technically say Fox Sports is our client or ESPN or somebody. Don't do it. Be very careful and tread lightly on that deal. But the thing about it is that submitting to libraries is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Because let them do the work. Let them do the sales. Listen, I write for one that's a heavy sub-pub into a big company. They're a big distributor. And I see a lot of value in it. I write for 2 or 3 different publishers that I believe in. And I work hard for them. I do one that has a lot of big clients. And there's a third one I write to. Which one is that? Not as much as the other two, but I do a lot of work for that. And I just work on briefs as they come along with these other libraries, because I've got music in about 10 or 12 libraries. But I don't work heavy for them all. I think DL Music is one that I submit stuff each year. But, it's point in case. Case in point, my bad, is that, DL Music, I got a lot of music with those guys. But They haven't got me near the placements these other two have. And I don't mean to call DL out. They're a great company. DL, the thing about it is they've been a great company. They've gotten me some. But the thing is the thing about DL is that, you know, I've got a lot of music with them that eventually my music that music will hit for a TV show, or it'll be cool, and it will eventually get placed, which is another thing. Don't just move your music around from library to library. And I'm going to talk about that on another video. That's burning bridges too, and I'll tell you about that later. But I've left my music there. I mean, I've got almost 900 pieces of music in that library. And, you know, you just don't know. When you pull it out, all of a sudden, we need this music, and you pulled it out. And I'll talk further on later on that. Is when you pull that music out of that library, you're a bigger liability. They're not going to take that music back because they don't know where it's been. So anyway, I'm dragging on a little too long. I'm going to get off here. I wanted to touch base and talk about that a little bit because I don't think a lot of people knew this industry, understand the business enough to hear all this stuff. You got to get with the music supervisors. You got to do this. That's not really where you need to be, especially starting out. You don't need to be there, no matter what anybody tells you. No, you can link up with somebody, one of these guys that trying to just get a cut of your money and say, I got a connection with one. They might. And they either string you along, or they may be putting your music in there, to them. And some people, they may give more time a day than others. And that's true because they have a rapport with them. They trust them. That's one of their go-to sources for music. And if you get in that situation, it's probably worth to give that guy 20% to do that. I don't know. You see a lot of that with the singer-songwriters. With instrumental music, you do not need a sync agent. We'll talk about that later, too. No, you don't. There's too many libraries. Get 50-50, the 100% of your back end and half the sync fee, which is a standard deal. And if they give you any publishing, take it. There are libraries that do it. If they give you more than 50% of your sync fee and the back end, take it. We're going to talk about that, too. I think I talked about be careful what you sign. But anyway, I'm going to get off here. I'm 27 minutes into this. I appreciate you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Be cool. Bye.